This is National Native News. I'm Megan Kamrek in for Antonia Gonzalez. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has agreed to continue an appeal of the controversial Line 3 oil pipeline project. Dan Crocker of Minnesota Public Radio reports.
Minnesota utility regulators approved Enbridge Energy's project last summer, but the State Department of Commerce under Minnesota's former governor appealed that decision, arguing the pipeline wasn't needed to meet oil demand. Now Governor Walz says he will continue that challenge. Environmental groups and tribes praise the decision. Joe Plummer is an attorney for the Red Lake and White Earth Nations.
We should be shifting, to renewables, and we don't need any more crude oil. We've got excess capacity right now. We don't need to be serving a Canadian oil company.
Enbridge says it's focused on working with Walz to secure the additional permits it needs to begin construction. For National Native News, I'm Dan Crocker in Duluth.
As Montana legislators consider bills to address the epidemic of missing and murdered indigenous women, reservation communities are tired of waiting. On Thursday, Northern Cheyenne tribal members in southeastern Montana held the third memorial march for a young girl whose body was found in December, 3 weeks after her mother last spoke to her. Kayla DeRoche in Billings, Montana, has the story.
Local activist Dean Wallowing-Bull says families want justice, and they're tired of feeling alone and trying to get it.
It's not up to anybody else to help us. It's up to us to help us now.
People in Lame Deer on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation are looking for solutions from within the community. Wallowing-Bull says volunteers have formed a group that uses social media and word of mouth to find loved ones if they go missing.
They're taking our ideas that we talked about at the community meetings, and a part of that was people spreading out to look around, to look out, to reach out to their friends, to their family.
Other indigenous communities are also trying to generate answers internally. The Tribal Council on Flathead Reservation in western Montana recently formed a work group to brainstorm possible solutions to the epidemic of missing and murdered indigenous women and girls. Native American communities hope for a quicker and more efficient response to ongoing and emerging cases. Dean Wallowing-Bull says the third memorial march for Henny Scott is aimed at keeping the issue at the forefront of people's minds. Legislators appear to be paying attention. Bills that could address how law enforcement agencies respond to reports of missing and murdered people are currently before the Montana State Legislature. One would require the employment of a statewide missing persons specialist. Another would put more stringent requirements in place when a child's family reports him or her missing, by requiring law enforcement to submit the child's information to a national database and allowing guardians to do so once they file a report with authorities. For National Native News, I'm Kayla DeRoche.
In Minnesota, longtime chairman of the Grand Portage Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, passed away this week. Norman Deschamps was 65 and died suddenly of a heart attack. Deschamps served on the tribal council for 45 years, including 27 years as chairman. Gary Frazier, the executive director of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, where Deschamps also served as president, says he leaves a legacy as a leader in tribal economic development and public service. Frazier told Grand Marais radio station WTIP that Deschamps had a strong work ethic, a sense of humor, and a commitment to the people around him.
The thing I liked about Norman is that he was such a family man. He'd travel 300 miles to go watch his kid and then his grandkids play ball and come back and be at work the next day.
The mayor of Grand Marais has declared February 26th Norman Deschamps Day. For National Native News, I'm Megan Kamrek.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by Vision Maker Media, whose mission is to empower and engage Native people to share stories. Vision Maker Media is now inviting film projects intended for public television. You can find out more at visionmakermedia.org.
And by the law offices of Sonosky, Chambers, Saxe, Miller, and Monkman, a national tribal rights law firm with offices in Washington, D.C., New Mexico, California, and Alaska, and online at sonosky.com.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.